it was recent. Y'all know Myles Garrett was already gravitated towards Shedeur. He was on the sideline at the Panthers game, and he told Shedeur, when Shedeur was mic'd up, we gonna need you. And then remember when they were out there at practice, when it's like Stefanski wanted everybody to stay away from Shedeur, and only like Njoku was coming and gravitated towards Shedeur. Myles Garrett stayed with Shedeur, who stayed behind to practice with the center on the 14 that kept snapping the ball. And Myles Garrett decided, hey, I'm a help too. So he was the defense. So Myles Garrett, in my opinion, I mean, he one of the players for the Browns that I like. And I felt like after he made that comment about Shedeur, we gonna need you, because, you know, they trying to keep the locker room to stay away from Shedeur. They don't want him to endorse Shedeur as the quarterback. They want Stefanski, his decision to stand, and the players don't have no decision in it. After that happened, when Myles gravitated towards Shedeur and praised him on the field, hey, we're going to need you, we found out that Myles Garrett got his 8th speeding ticket. And the way they framed the story, they made it seem like, and this was Mary Cabot, she made it seem like he was being reckless. So I had to investigate the story. It was 1:30 in the morning, and he swerved to her. He flipped his Porsche, swerving to miss a deer. Again, you don't ever want to hit a deer, because you and your car gonna be damaged more than that deer. And if it's a buck and it has antlers, you might end up in the hospital with an eye or something missing. Understand that, right? Deers do a lot of damage to cars. So they never told us the point about he flipped his car to avoid a deer. They just made it seem like he got his 8th speeding ticket and he flipped his Porsche and he reckless. So initially, the Browns were trying, instead of Shedeur becoming the face of the team, after they paid Myles Garrett all that money and then Shedeur ended up on the ground, they were like, Myles Garrett is our guy. Myles Garrett is our guy. They had Shedeur in the corner on the page of the website where you go to buy the jerseys. They had on their social media site. And I noticed, you know, they kept trying to defer to Myles Garrett like he was the leader of the team. And that's cool. But the moment their leader of the team that they appointed, Myles Garrett, start gravitating towards Shedeur Sanders, suddenly he gets his 8th speeding ticket and he reckless and he this and he that. Then you don't hear no more from Myles Garrett. They're not interviewing him or nothing. And finally he comes back and they ask him about the ticket or whatever. And he says, we're not going to talk about non-football topics. They already scared of him. I know this. I watched it in the summer. So for him to be on this interview, which I know was recent, if not today, praising Shedeur Sanders, he telling them, just like Coach Prime said, I don't give a damn about what you thinking. I'm going to speak my mind. What you going to do? Trade me? It's not like people really want to be in Cleveland.
Shedeur Sanders, as a veteran, what's impressed you the most on how he's approached the game?
All the time he takes, showing up early. Coach's office is easily seen when you walk in the building, and almost every morning you see him in there, talking through plays, talking through schemes with coach, and making sure that he's ready for his moment when he gets called up. And I appreciate that level of maturity and attention to detail.
Shedeur Sanders, as a veteran, what's impressed you the most on how he's approached the game?
All the time he takes, showing up early. Coach's office is easily seen when you walk in the building, and almost every morning you see him in there, talking through plays, talking.
You heard that? Did you hear that? So he shows up early. Coach's office can be seen in the front of the building, so they know when you coming in. Listen to this again. Just listen. Listen to this again. Listen to this one more time. That's why we listen to things multiple times.
Shedeur Sanders, as a veteran, what's impressed you the most on how he's approached the game?
All the time he takes, showing up early. Coach's office is easily seen when you walk in the building, and almost every morning you see him in there, talking through plays, talking through schemes with coach, and making sure that he's ready for his moment when he gets called up. And
okay, that's very interesting, because today, at the end of Kevin Stefanski's interview, he was asked, the press conference, he was asked, do the players like Shedeur, I don't know if they said Shedeur, but do the other quarterbacks, that's not Dylan or whoever's not QB1, do they come to you and ask you what they can do to play? And he said yes. And when he was getting up out the chair, he ended his sentence or his paragraph with, I tell all the players, you have to be where your feet are. I'm like, excuse me. Now, listening to Myles Garrett, Shedeur takes the initiative to go into coach's office to talk about the plays. So they can't say nothing about his play calling. So have you ever heard Stefanski say anything remotely close to Shedeur coming to him, taking the initiative to make sure he knows the plays? Not one time. He alludes to the fact that he can't learn the plays, not that he refuses to. And now he's throwing jabs at Shedeur by saying, yes, the players come to me, but you have to be where your feet are. That's no different than Rex Ryan lying on Shedeur and saying he sits in the back and he's lazy. It's the same thing. These are racist stereotypes. You have to be where your feet are. Where was Shedeur yesterday? And the media found him up there. You see how that works? They don't want him to be famous. They don't want him to be confident. They want him to be a rag doll that they could kick around and abuse and for him to beg to play. And I don't think he's going to do that. And this is why Kevin Stefanski need to be fired. You have never heard Kevin Stefanski talk about Shedeur the way these players are talking about Shedeur. And the locker room matters.
I appreciate that level of maturity and attention to detail.
So he's mature, the attention to detail. He shows up early. You can see the coach's office in the front. Shedeur be in there asking for plays. He showed you a picture with Shedeur outside talking to Stefanski. So the point is, I've never seen the media show a photo of Shedeur Sanders talking to Stefanski ever. I've never seen a video. I've never seen, I don't think I have one photo of this until right here. And one of the things I know about certain publications, they don't like what's going on in Cleveland. But what I noticed about them is they feel like they can't say much because then they'll lose their access to players. I've never, and maybe this is a photo and I've never seen it. Maybe y'all have seen it. But, to hear Myles Garrett say Shedeur go, you'll see Shedeur in there talking over the plays with the coach. Shedeur is taking the initiative. That is maturity in itself. Coming in early. He's mature. He knows the plays. He's a pro. And that's just Jerry Jeudy, who's supposed to be the wide receiver, and Myles Garrett, who's the leader of the defense. And then there's Denzel Ward. He had some high praise about Shedeur as well. And, I think they asked him, was Shedeur ready? And this is his response right here.
I think those are
two
guys.
Like I said, the media is going to the players to get the answers because Stefanski refuses to answer the questions.
Yeah, I think both those guys are ready. Shedeur and Dylan. I think those are two guys that are capable of being the number one quarterback, and I think he'll be ready once he come in. Like I say, Shedeur, he throws a nice ball and can make plays. So who's ever in there, I know it's gonna help us out. Yeah.
So good answer, right? Shedeur throws a nice ball. What did Bernie Kosar say about Shedeur? Shedeur has something as a quarterback that you can't teach. And he talked about the balls that he throw. Like exactly what this young man right here, Denzel Ward, I think he plays on defense. What he's saying. Shedeur throws a nice ball. He's defense. He's not even a receiver. So these three young men are pivotal, integral to the team. Denzel Ward, Jerry Jeudy, Myles Garrett. Stay tuned and let's see what goes on with the three of them. But see, here's my thing. Cleveland is going to run out of people to run out of Cleveland because they have high praise for Shedeur. As you can see, there are people that they can manage to keep in line and keep quiet and possibly not gravitate toward. It's probably only one or two that take pleasure in it. I know the other ones that are silent go home to their wives and tell them about the things that happen and they don't like it, but they feel powerless to do anything about it. They are scared to do anything about it because Tony Brown was made an example of. He was made an example of. All right, so that's where we are on those three. Let's see. I had some other stuff here I wanted to share. Okay, so I showed you Joe Gilliam's. I showed you his jersey. One of the reasons I think, I know people say, you know, I'm passionate. It's not even about that. It's not that I'm passionate. It's that I see what's happening and it's wrong. And it took me a while to figure out why it is that so many are quiet about it. And I've said, I feel like at some point the players enable the NFL. Then I said, you know, their contracts prohibit them. They get, you know, financial penalties. They can't speak out against the team. Then we get to Cleveland and I see Shedeur, how he's ostracized, but I see Tony Brown, how he's retaliated against. Hell, I believe Flacco was retaliated against. The way that game go, his first game go, it'll tell you everything. Quinshon Judkins is a question mark because he and Shedeur were tight. Gage and Luke, Shedeur helped to develop. They moved up Luke and Gage, separated Gage from Shedeur, but then try to say Shedeur is not good. Now, you just heard from 3 players. So shout out to the media for going to the players, but pressing Stefanski at the same time. And here's why I'm so steadfast on this issue right now, right?
Losing, the frustration lead to more partying, more drinking, less focus on the football field, more focus on the things that didn't matter because I was trying to escape bad football. I was trying to escape coaches that didn't talk to me.
So I told y'all I kept going back to that video. Because we talked about how in the summer it was reported that like Stefanski wasn't talking to Shedeur, icing them out, isolating them in public, ignoring them seems to be a tactic that they use. And I'm telling you, these young people can't handle that. And after Kyron Lacey's death, I can honestly tell you that I appreciate Miss Pilar even more for speaking up for her son. Because unfortunately, Kyron Lacey's mom is speaking up for him in his death. And I'm not saying she didn't speak up. She's a good woman. She's a school counselor and everything. But the point is, people pick on who they think they can defeat. And I told y'all, the NFL and the Cleveland Browns feel like they got Coach Prime over a barrel, which is why I was also happy that Coach Prime told them people in a press conference, I don't give a damn. I ain't worried about the Cleveland Browns. I got my own priorities over here. I'm glad he did that. I'm glad he did that because they think they got him over a barrel for a number of reasons, right? For a number of reasons. And they think they got Shedeur over a barrel because he wants to play in the league. And it's horrible to treat someone that way. And I feel like Kevin Stefanski has lied on Shedeur by putting out and perpetuating stereotypes that he can't learn the plays. When you just heard all of the players say good things, you haven't heard Kevin Stefanski say any one of those good things that Judy Ward and Myles Garrett have said about Shedeur, and that's shameful. Because why? Canales, the head coach of the Panthers, he said it voluntarily. And then he said it again when he was asked about Shedeur. It's shameful to mistreat someone that way. And it's humiliating to do it in public. It hurts either way. And all these young people under the age of 25, I told you the adults in the room know what they're doing. And I told y'all, just because Shedeur carrying it well does not mean that it doesn't hurt. All of these young men should have a father like Coach Prime, especially if they Black coming to the NFL, because you're going to need a strong mind. You're going to need a strong sense of self. You're going to need to understand how racism works. You're going to need to know, especially if you a quarterback. But Black players in general, because they were trying to come for Travis. And even in Travis's celebration, they don't ask him about Coach Prime, but they keep asking Jimmy Horn Jr. about Coach Prime. Why you keep asking Jimmy? Why you don't ask Travis? They all came from there. So shout out to Miss Pilar again for speaking up for her son, because it forced Rex Ryan to retreat, in my opinion. I think the pressure forced him to retreat. The first time she spoke out against the Giants, I know for a fact her statements forced them to retreat about Shedeur not being ready and prepared. Everything you heard these three guys say about Shedeur proves that he comes early, he stays late, he's well prepared, he wants to learn, he has the initiative. Initiative alone will get you to success.
I had left, I sang one last song for him, I Will Always Love You, hoping my dear son could finally rest in peace.